Justin, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Someone is that.
Are you able to
Hold
hear me?
on one
Oh,
second. I just need to deal with the reverb. Right, can you try again?
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Welcome to the December 1st, 2025 meeting of the Envision Needham Center Project Working Group. As a reminder, this meeting is being broadcast to the town's YouTube channel and also via Zoom. It is being recorded for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. I have not been notified that anyone else is recording the meeting, but if anyone wishes to do so, please notify. Take a roll call attendance, hybrid. Eileen Baker,
Here.
Tim Bolger present, Artie Crocker, here, Lisa Alcock,
Here.
all good,
Here.
Michael Grice,
Here.
Liz Hay,
Here.
Paula Jacobson is not here, Kevin Keane.
Yeah.
Justin McCullen,
Present.
Avery Newton.
Here.
Diane Nanny.
Here.
Paul O'Connor.
Here.
Mel's not here, Karis Lustig.
Here.
And we have a new member for the resident at large seat, and that's Susan Fleck. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, thank you.
The first agenda item is one I'm pulling from the back to the front, which is the public feedback acknowledgement. And I was asked that we would kind of go over the feedback that we got since the last meeting until today. There were 11 pieces of feedback. Some of the themes that were in there about the lane reduction and bump out. Many expressed concern using travel lanes, adding bump outs would worsen congestion, slow traffic, and safety for cyclists and drivers. Parking loss is a strong opposition to removing parking on Great Lane Ave. Several noted convenience storefront parking is essential for customers, delivery, seniors, the small businesses. Multiple business owners warned that reduced access to parking could harm operations, discourage customers, disrupt deliveries, and emergency access. Several highlighted fears of longer travel times, bottlenecks, increased cut-through traffic in residential areas. Some felt pedestrian space is already adequate, and that bike lanes or bump outs are unnecessary. One cyclist noted that proposals could reduce safe maneuvering space for cyclists. Many felt the redesign is overly large, expensive, unjustified, preferring targeted safety improvements like lighting or sidewalk signals over full reconstruction. There are some process concerns about transparency, about the traffic data, community engagement, and clarity of the committee's role in our mandate. There was one submission that supported some key safety features such as the slip lane removal, emphasized the importance of modernizing the downtown to attract future generations. That was what we had before. Is there any comments, discussion? We're all reading these emails as a committee, and we're taking the individual items that everyone talks about into consideration when we're kind of talking here. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, so I guess I just am wondering what we're gonna do with that feedback now, because it seems like the overwhelming consensus for the majority of it was concern regarding the project and certain aspects of it, and many people asking for that fourth option, which is to kind of leave it and make the necessary safety adjustments and fix the sidewalks and, you know, do the ADA compliances and those kind of things. So I'm just like wondering, what do we do with all this feedback now as a committee? How do we move forward knowing that a lot of people are quite against at least two of these three plans?
Okay, just with the feedback. I think right now we're getting information in for people who have a very strong opinion about either the process or the act of moving forward with the project at all. What we haven't done is we haven't solicited or requested feedback. So this is all information that's coming to us from people who have very strong feelings about the project and want to express that before we go through the public engagement process, not because we have asked for and solicited a broad perspective or feedback. So what I would say is it's useful information, I think, to have, but as far as advancing the process, we haven't even gone to the point of asking the public to provide us feedback. So we're only hearing from one group that is providing feedback now versus when we go through a survey or we do a more open public engagement process.
I also think just if it's helpful on my part, I'm trying to acknowledge these individually and just be like, thank you for reaching out, taking the time. There was one person who asked a series of questions and I forwarded, there's a new, I don't know if other folks in the committee are aware of this. There's actually a relatively new FAQ page that's now up and available on the town website and I think also on the project website. And I think it just helps provide context to some of the stuff because some of the, concerns come from, deep research and others come from hearsay. And so I think part of it is just, for my part, I'm just like, hey, thank you for reaching out. If, here's this FAQ page, it's a resource for you. Here's a link to the project and some of the maps if you want to take a look. And in some cases, I'm pointing people to specific sections, but, I hope that part helps as well, just to be like, in the meantime, while we're waiting for that larger feedback, here's some other information that might be helpful. And then I'm just making myself available, to talk.
And Tim, I just, this is what happens in any public process for any board, okay? You will hear first from the people who are very upset about something. And that feedback's important, and you said it right. We need to take that into account, consider questions that we should ask based on what we hear from them. But that doesn't drive what we do. It never should. It will never be a good idea to just listen to the 15 loud voices you hear first. You have to take their input into consideration and go through the process and find out where we are.
I don't think you should just call them loud people because they're genuinely concerned.
Yes,
and
but-
it's not 15 people at first. It's been going on for a really long time. I mean, we're how many months in just with the businesses? We found out about it in April. So we're 8 months in at this point. So it's not like people where are the people who are for it then?
But we haven't asked them.
We haven't asked them.
Why do we have to
Provide us
ask them
feedback.
if they feel
You will
strongly about
always
it?
hear first from people who are concerned. That's just
But it's
the
been going on
natural
for a
protocol.
really long time.
Again,
So where are the people who are for it? It's been 8 months.
Until you share the information.
We have to ask them for
Yeah,
positive
you do.
feedback?
You absolutely do.
That seems like soliciting.
But that's the way the public process works. It's just.
I don't
it's
agree with
very-
that. I think the feedback we're getting is really important. It's really important. It's been for a really long time that we've been getting negative
I
feedback.
just make a distinction between important and this is what we should do based on what we hear from this set. Okay, there's a distinction between being important and being something we absolutely need to take into consideration and see how we address, and something that says, oh, well, we've heard from these folks and this is what we're going to do. That's not the way a public process for anything works.
So you're saying do nothing right now?
I didn't say do that. I said just what Tim said. Take this into account as we do our job and bring forward
okay.
a recommendation. We take into consideration.
Okay.
I echo that as someone, I agree with Michael. I mean, you sit on an elected board, as do I sit on an elected board that goes through these processes where, in terms of zoning, it's the same thing. You're going to have a group. And obviously, I think a lot of these, and I think we have to realize that a lot of this feedback that's coming in has been galvanized by a group that is pushing a certain one way. We have a couple very vocal residents and business owners, and they're galvanizing their support in terms of trying to get people to put in feedback.
I
And
don't
that's
think
fine.
that's
And the
fair to
feedback-
say.
excuse me, Liz,
That's
I'm
not
talking.
fair.
Liz,
That's not fair to say.
Liz, I actually, I think it is true. We as a committee have not gone out and actually solicited the feedback through the public process of a legally noticed public hearing. And so, yes, no, and I listen.
But you're saying that business owners
talk to an exchange.
You're saying business
know
owners have galvanized and have been
Yes.
pushing people to submit this feedback. That's not the case.
Absolutely.
Okay, can I
not
continue
true.
talking, Liz? You just
Well, it's just not fair
Yeah.
for you to call us
and
out
you
like that.
listen. No, well, I can say what I want to say, and then you have an opportunity to then say how you feel, and that's the public process. Okay,
Sounds
so
good.
that's all I'm asking for is the common courtesy to finish my thought. So this is, I think we should go forward with the public process. And if in fact this, first of all, how I personally feel about this, which is actually probably going to surprise you later on, but I'm not willing to disclose what my personal opinion is on this right now. And it probably will surprise you given what I'm saying right now. But I say this is what we do. We, in the planning board, we acknowledge the correspondence that comes in, which I believe that's what Tim was doing. We are entering that into the record. We are then going to, continue to go forward on the agenda. And then at a certain time, we have a legally noticed public hearing, and we actually have people who are going to comment in any way that they see fit, whether that's for, against, modifying, whatever it may be. That's what we're then going to solicit that opinion and make a recommendation to the select board that's ultimately going to make a decision based on our recommendation. And that is the public process. This is, I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, like 17 emails here, plus I know we had before a wave of back from April, as you were talking before, from the businesses. We have 32,000 residents in Needham. So, that's my opinion. But yes, I will sit and listen, Liz, to your feedback.
I just didn't appreciate the way you started by saying a group of people and that business owners have galvanized and have asked these people. That I don't appreciate, because it makes it seem like we are, as business owners, this group that are creating a problem and the only ones that are being outspoken, when that's not the case. So I didn't appreciate the way that you started your comment. That's what I didn't appreciate.
Fair. I mean, we're going on, obviously there's posters in every, so I mean, it is, but I appreciate that I can rephrase the word galvanization. I just say this input is being solicited outside the public noticed process of this committee to go forward. I can rephrase that if that's more fair.
Yep. Thank you.
Just for the record, I do not go and ask my customers about Envision either. They come to me. So for you to say that businesses are reaching out to residents is absolutely not true.
I never said any
Diana, do you
specific
ever
business
talk to
was
your
doing so. I had a
customers about it?
conversation
No.
with a couple residents who are also business owners. That's all I said. I'm not generalizing it. That's all.
You did generalize. You said businesses are. We are not, Justin. We don't, that's the last thing we want to talk about it. The customers come into
Okay.
us. They talk about it.
Fair.
Okay.
Thank you for your opinion.
I think the information is the feedback is definitely important as it comes in, and just expect that everyone would read it as it comes in, all of it, and we use that information when we have the chance to use it decision making later. Okay.
Tim, can I just speak to the fourth option thing? Because I know that's come up before, and I just want to again reiterate that there really isn't a fourth option of just putting things back the way they currently are and quote unquote making it safe. That there are multiple changes that have to occur. That is what that 4-lane alternative is addressing. And that to just make something ADA compliant requires a lot more engineering that hasn't been identified for the existing layout. So it's not, there is consistent reference to a fourth option, which is largely not to provide any changes except to upgrade, and there really isn't a solution in which we can do those upgrades in the existing layout without making some of the modifications that are in that 4-lane plan.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next agenda item is to discuss the timing of the engagement event and the survey. We had discussed, I think, Eileen, brought up that the middle of January would be a good start point for that. And I think we're thinking that it needs to be pushed back a little bit.
Yeah, so in our last meeting, we talked about the extended diversion analysis and traffic analysis that Apex will be conducting. And that we wanted I think it was pointed out that we wanted the committee to take a look at it before we had the public engagement event. And so with that feedback, which I think was valuable, We discussed it with Apex and we feel like we do have to push that event out to early February so that we can work on we can have the results of that diversion analysis and have at least one meeting where we can look at it prior to having that public engagement event. So right now we are looking tentatively at February 4th as a date for that event. And then we would have the survey open from February 4th through February 22nd. It does overlap a little bit with the break, but there's a week and a half that isn't a part of the break that residents would be able to fill out the survey if the break for some reason is a challenge.
That break will be a challenge because I find that more people go away in February than they do in April.
So, but they still will have a week and a half to take the survey prior to the break.
Right, but they're getting ready to go away. There's a lot going on. I don't think it's, when is the break exactly? Do you know the date?
16th,
16th.
February 16th.
So you
Yeah,
said you
President's
wanted to do it on the 4th and then
Close it on the 22nd, so it would wrap around that weekend.
meaning
You could always-
you're meaning the survey.
survey.
We'll start the survey after the.
So the info session would be on the 4th. We can literally open it up at the end of
Okay,
that session.
And that's probably gonna be the biggest boost, like usually at launch, that's like sort of that's the biggest surge of response.
That's Wednesday.
So it is challenging navigating. There's a lot of large projects that are happening in the town that also have engagement. So we are trying to like hone in on a date. I don't think I think we've gone through several iterations of different options and there's not a perfect date that doesn't overlap with some large town or life events. And we thought that this date would work well for the public engagement event, which we thought was sort of critical to be able to have as many people attend who want to attend. And then provide enough time for people to be able to answer the survey right away if they want to, or give those who want more time to think about it, time to be able to process it and submit it, which is why we suggested having it open till the 22nd.
is it possible, like, to just have it one more week? Like what, does it have to end the 22nd? Can you do another week for people?
I will divert to the community engagement people, but
Like, is there a reason why it's for that amount of time?
For surveys is
There is.
really between 2 and 3 weeks.
Okay,
Okay.
so it'll be like,
It's about 2.5 weeks, from the 4th to the 22nd.
I mean, with the 8th, 16th, the 18th, you're on vacation anyway, so it doesn't even matter. Okay, thank you.
And then my question would be, can we pick a snow date?
Thank you.
Yeah.
with the following with Thursday be a better? With no say
So
snow day?
Thursday poses a challenge for the Needham channel.
Okay.
Right.
We're asking that you
Yeah.
come to this meeting to live stream it.
Oh, yeah, I think that's
So
great.
Wednesdays were the day.
I just know we live in New England and I hate for us to put all our eggs in one basket and then that's the one big storm we get for the season and then we don't have a backup plan. That's all.
So I think we can try to find a snow date, the following week. I guess what I would ask then is if we could open the survey up then prior to the snow date. Again, odds are not high that we'll have to use it, but I think
It's just,
we want to have the timeline secured. And if so, the public engagement event, that's where the challenge is.
because I feel like if we don't have a
Right.
snow date, we're gonna get snow. And if we have the snow date, we
I
won't.
agree with you.
But you're saying, so you're saying have the survey go out before the public engagement if there's a snow, because I don't really think that's a great idea, because something Lisa brought up that's been sitting with me is if somebody does the survey, then goes to the informational event and has a change of heart, they're not gonna be able to change it. So why even start it before?
So, I mean, I guess I'll give like an example. We did a public engagement survey about the RTS. I'm sorry, we did a survey about the RTS. We didn't do any engagement event and we still had 2,500 people take that survey. We're not gonna fit 2,500 people in Powers Hall. So like I imagine the vast majority of the people who do take the survey, because I do think we'll have a lot of engagement on it, which is positive because it will help provide us some statistically significant or some statistically valuable information. Will not attend that session. So I think the majority of the people taking that survey will not be attending the session or watching the session.
But I think, but why not just like, why would you wanna not wait?
So I think trying to get I'll say like a couple of things. Obviously, this project, for the reasons that were articulated in the earlier part of this meeting, is taking a lot of oxygen out of the room when it comes to a lot of public works projects in general. And it gets conflated with other projects, when they are separate, and so that makes it complicated for us to continue operating. So having this project go on forever is really not ideal. And I think getting feedback seems like a high priority that we want to hear from people. So I just continuing to push it out and push it out. I just have concerns about, again, how much capacity and bandwidth people are going to continue to have to operate on this project. So that would be my reasoning behind trying to keep the survey dates fixed. I'd also say because we have to send out postcards, and if the postcards have a date, then the survey begins and the survey ends, and then we get snow. The postcards are gonna go out 2 weeks in advance, 3 weeks in advance, and then it snows. We're not gonna know it's gonna snow before we send the postcards out. So that would be the second issue.
Is there a way, either on the postcard or when they open the survey, to let them know before they start that if they're planning on coming to the public event, they may want to hold off on the survey until they attend the event? For those people who aren't wanting to attend the event, they can start the survey right away. So that would help us for those people who are.
We can
Are on the
definitely
fence.
put it up on the, I think you can even do it as like a pop-up when you do the
Yeah.
survey. Yeah.
I just think just let them know, like, if you're planning on coming to the public event, please hold off on the survey until you attend that event, because once the survey is done, it can't be altered.
Yeah.
And then those people who have no intention to come to the event will do their survey and.
I think it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that way.
just the one other factor that I'll throw in, and this is, you know, I know we're gonna go through the survey as another agenda item, but most of the survey is based on current behavior and current perspective, which I think is, you know, like the public event is not gonna change how often I tend to visit downtown.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think that's another sort of, something that will help, I think, reduce perceived bias in the, in the responses as well. So I hope that will help alleviate some of that concern too.
And I can't remember, did we do reminders for the transfer station survey that it was closing, like last day, last chance?
Should we see on our Facebook maybe?
I sent through all the towns communication channels, so there will be a postcard that goes out,
Mhm.
but through every possible channel, it will be repeated that the date is coming and that there'll be, 5 days left, 2 days left.
Let's,
So for people that aren't able to make it to the February 4th event or whenever it is, how is that, all of that information going to be able to get out to people?
So again, a lot of the information is going to be already captured in the data, the key, what do we call it?
Guide.
Yeah, the key alternatives guide, it will be incorporated. We'll have the map layouts available for public to look at. The session itself will be recorded. That's why we need Needham community channel involved, because they'll be able to record it. But the content of that is going to be question, answer, and information. That's already available, but I think what we've heard is there's a lot of confusion. So the goal is to try to provide as much clarity so people can make as much of an informed decision as they can.
So the rain or snow day is the 11th?
We have to check with a few other things, so
Okay.
I think tentatively, I think it'll have to follow in the following week. And we'll have to figure out what dates work best for Needham channel and that don't conflict with any existing
Okay.
major town events, which is a challenge.
And the 7 o'clock start, or just so I get it on the calendar right, I'm currently thinking.
Lord, that is not something we have talked about yet.
7 o'clock, put it on my calendars though.
That's a fair question. So I asked, what time do we think would be the most helpful? Like, I know 7 often, like I think for a lot of the school public outreach stuff, 7 o'clock is usually when they start. So people have the ability to go home and grab a bite before they come out. Does that make sense?
That's what the,
There's no perfect choice, so, but that. Oh, yeah.
That's helpful as well.
but everyone is okay with moving it from January to February 4th. No objections. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the vote on the matrix range. Either -2 to 2 or 1 to 5. Paula isn't here, but she did send me an email. Her vote, if we vote on it, doesn't count, she's not here, but she did say, she would like the matrix to be included as additional information, but it doesn't need to be prominent. And that she would go for a -2 to 2 scale. So, open it up to discussion. Go ahead, Liz.
I'm just confused. I thought at the last meeting we said we weren't going to move forward with the -2 scale. Did I completely miss?
No, so the last meeting, I had indicated that there was a diverse set of opinions. I heard several people say they preferred -2 and several people say they preferred 1.5. So we decided to wait until this week so we could review. I think more people wanted some more time to be able to look at them to decide which of the two to go through and that we would put it to a vote at the following meeting.
Okay, and
It-
that's
on the
what we were
minutes for
voting on.
October 6th, it says everyone agreed to make it 1 to 5.
We didn't talk about this in October 6th.
It's in the minutes.
We agreed to have that like
Drafted.
drafted. and shown.
Okay, it said, that's not what it said in the minutes, so you might wanna maybe not agree to the minutes today. But whatever, we wanna take a vote.
Yeah.
You know, my vote's 1 to 5, so.
Um,
Now you said Paula's doesn't count because she's not
Paula-
here. Oh. No, I just didn't know how that worked. Thank you.
I do believe that we asked to like see what it would look like and bring it forward. And then last time it was presented to us in the last meeting, it was the first time we saw the 1 to 5. I think there was some preference for both of them, so. I took a look at both of them and -2 to 2 just makes more sense to me, but. Okay, so
Hey, you did this business, surveys, stuff like that.
I don't know about rating systems. I was actually planning to abstain. I really don't feel strongly one way or.
I don't either. I feel like they both speak to me equally and I would follow the instructions. But I would defer to the majority.
Yeah, I think my feeling on this is more as a, which is what sort of came up last time. It's more of like a reference, like sort of an appendix type
Yeah,
thing, or like
yeah.
available as a reference, but like not the first thing we're gonna hand somebody like, hey, here's this project, you know, so I think, but yeah, I don't personally have a strong, perspective because I think it's like a qualitative tool that we're trying to make a little more quantitative and that, so yeah, I don't necessarily have a strong.
So someone want to start their motion for which one they want and then.
I'll make a motion for the 1 to 5, but like Avery said, I'd like it to be like an appendix. I don't want it out there as the first thing people say.
So that will be the motion, I guess, which I think Avery left on the table last time as well. We didn't end up voting on it. Was that it's not
Not page 1.
it's not page 1 of the,
Yeah.
of the thing, yeah. So.
Well, I second the emotion.
Second.
The emotion, I just said.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Um,
Coming
so
from the emotional person.
we'll take a roll call vote. Eileen Baker,
How do you want me to say this? 1 to 5 or
You
I?
vote- you vote-
Aye.
yeah, the motion is 1 to 5.
I vote no. Lisa Elcock,
I will vote yes.
all good?
Yes,
Michael Grice,
yes, I'm one with you. It doesn't matter a lot to me.
Lindsay?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was the one that did the motion. So yes.
Yes, okay. Kevin Keen,
Sure.
Justin McCullen,
Aye.
Avery Newton.
Aye.
Diane Nanny,
Aye.
Paul O'Connor.
Aye.
Karis Lustig.
I'm gonna say just the same justification, like
It doesn't
it's just
matter.
information points. Yes.
And Susan Fleck.
Yes.
Okay, so it passes. So we'll use 1 to 5. And the matrix is going to be used as additional information, not problem. Okay. The next agenda item is to review the matrix content, which we discussed that we would go through the line by line to make sure that they're okay with the. So we're gonna start with the first one, safety. And I'm looking at those 2 to 2, but can you put the, oh, there we go. Okay. So incorporation of speed management features. Does anybody have any comments on how this is rated or disagree, agree?
So in the 1 to 5 rating system, 3 is kind of the neutral point. 1 and 2 is less and 4 and 5 is more.
Yeah, 3 is sort of like no major change from
No major
existing
change, that's
conditions.
the neutral, okay. So then if I'm reading this right, just to make sure I understand, because I'm new to this. So if we look at the very first one, the 4-lane alternative is no change, 2-lane gets a little better. I mean, the hybrid gets a little better and the 2-lane gets even more better.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Did the wording change at all? Like I have the. This is the one that was sent out after our last meeting. So the wording is the same as the last one that you received that was scaled at 1/35.
Could you send that to me, please?
I will definitely send that to you. Yep.
Iris, what date did you send that?
I sent it right the day after our meeting, so it would have been 20.
The 20th, I think.
21st, okay.
I think the wording is the same as was on the previous one.
Okay.
See if I can pull it up just a tiny.
Oh, thank you for zooming.
Okay, so is there any? Does anyone agree with it or disagree with it? We're talking about incorporation of speed management features.
Traffic calming.
I don't, from a traffic perspective, which is, I guess, what my position is here. I don't have a problem with the 3, 4, and 5 rating on these.
The next item is conflict points. Increases conflict between modes, reduces some conflicts, but leaves others unresolved, significantly reduces conflict points across all modes. So those,
I would do 2-lane is 5. Because you have removed the well, actually, no, the slip lane's gone, but let me think that through. Yeah, no, the hybrid has a fused conflict.
so I would say that there's probably some conflict that's removed with the left turn lane.
Yeah,
Some that's
yeah.
added with the left turn lane, and so I assume that's why they're both the same.
Yeah, I agree that it's not going to be a 5. Really, in any scenario, there's still going to be conflict points. Yeah, and which is unfortunate, but that is what it is. But especially, I mean, even though we could still reduce by doing no turn on reds and other things that aren't that I didn't see necessarily in the plans. But I would agree that no, it shouldn't be a 5 in any of the scenarios.
True that.
We have crossing distance, the average crossing distance for non-motorists increase, which is a 1. Crossing distances remain unchanged or decrease minimally compared to existing conditions, and crossing distances decrease considerably. Looks good to me. I think most of the crossings are reduced even in the 4-lane plan. So
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the most important things in this entire thing is the reducing of the crossing distances. So it's, from my perspective, is it.
okay. Crash reduction potential, crash risk increased compared to existing conditions, little to no reduction in crash risk compared to existing conditions, and substantial crash reduction with proven treatments. Again, I think kind of mimics the one before it.
Agreed.
Justin, what do you think of that?
I just hold on. If I pull my, I'm gonna agree. I mean, I can see why we could do the 4 and the 5 and the 5. Yeah, I don't. I think that's an appropriate rating.
Liz doesn't have her hand up, right? Yes.
Yeah, the notes are all blank, are all empty, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can try to blow it up.
No.
I'm making those online nauseous. I'm just trying to see if I can make it a little bigger for those in the room.
That's all right, no problem.
That's really good.
Yeah, but I can't see you can't see the numbers then.
You know, the only push I'd say on the safety crash reduction potential is on the 4 lane, since we have the 2 blocks or 3 blocks of 2 lanes of traffic. If that's, is that really if those remain, is that really a 4?
Are you suggesting, Kevin, that that should be a 3 just because based on that as it is equal to now? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the most jostling, that's not right, but. The
I didn't
spot
see-
of most jostling.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but is there an actual reduction of posted speed limit through this area in any of these plans?
No,
Right now it's well, it goes down to 25, right?
25, yep.
Posted, yes, posted, it's posted 25. Okay. Which no one abides by.
The 4 lane plan does include just the bump outs, and the narrow crossings, and the visibility of the corners. So the crash reduction, I think, is definitely not exactly what it is today. So
Well, I mean,
Correct.
so crash bump outs aren't going to decrease crash. They're gonna decrease pedestrian conflict with vehicles. And as opposed to crash, because crash is going to be a conflict between motor vehicles, and you know, I can buy an argument that the first plan of 4 would be a 3 at minimum because I don't know if it would, if we're not reducing the speed, we're not the light cycles are going to be the light cycles, but we've already improved them. I don't know if we're making engineering changes that are going to reduce crash. We're making engineering changes that are going to reduce pedestrian conflicts with motor vehicles. I mean, I'm
Justin, do you
open
think
for.
it would be fair for me to find out from Apex why they chose a 4, just to see if they had some secret sauce that we don't, and then
Yeah.
clarify?
Yeah, that's fine. I would like to be challenged on that, and that's fine. But I just remember that's fine.
I mean, I would say just, there's at least one section in the 4 lane plan that's 1 lane, and so the crash reduction there, and bump outs, although they're pedestrian infrastructure, they do let you see when you're pulling out from the side street, you're making a left, like coming from Pickering and you're taking a left. There's a bump out to your left instead of a parked car there. I think that's a significant.
Okay.
And removing the slip lane also reduces
lane.
crash because
Fair.
people who take the right-hand turn think they have the right of way when people who are going straight do.
And I also think having the bump out also allows people not to use the parking lanes as a travel lane, which I have seen happen also.
Oh, going around. Yeah. Okay. Fair, but I guess just let's see what Apex says. But other than that, I can buy either a 3 or a 4. But
All right, so the next one is mobility access for non-motorists, level of stress for those on bicycles. I guess 0, and then 2.
Yeah, it's 1, 3, and 5.
Again, it's potential, so no change makes sense.
So it's, where are we now?
The one at the top,
Oh, at the
level
top.
of stress
355.
for those on bicycles.
Oh, so this is a bicyclist view.
Yeah.
So,
It looks fine to me, so. Somebody who rides their bike downtown, so. Potential.
And the next one's pretty straight.
But
Is there pedestrian view?
And that would be the sidewalk.
Sidewalk width.
That's
is
the
next one.
sidewalk,
Yeah, so reduction
covered
in
with the
sidewalk width
pool.
compared to existing conditions, minimal widening of sidewalks compared to existing conditions, and increase in
Increase in
sidewalk
sidewalk
width
width, okay.
throughout the corridor. Okay, 4, 5. Good, okay. Traffic rerouting, peak hour. significant rerouting of traffic from project limits anticipated, no rerouting of traffic from the project limits anticipated, and increased traffic anticipated within the project limits.
Wait, can I just go back a second?
Sure.
The curb management efficiency had been crossed out, but then we were asking why it had been crossed out because we're being about deliveries. Was it decided we're leaving it out? It was on like one of the original ones.
I think there was a. The old one as well. I think because there was no difference between all three, because all three of them need to incorporate loading zones, because you're not allowed to block the right of way for deliveries. Then we just thought it was irrelevant since they're all neutral.
Okay, thanks.
3, 2, 1. Says vehicle travel time, again, significantly increases congestion or delay anticipated, neutral or minor delay impacts, vehicle travel efficiency anticipated to be improved.
And are we providing the information on what, like the rerouting impact that you have now, or the peak hour, the vehicle travel time, what the baseline is?
Yep, so that's what Apex is gonna be providing us, and one of the reasons why we delayed the
Right,
engagement
okay,
event.
so,
Yeah.
but somehow this will get into, for people to look at this, so they understand what they're looking at.
Context
And
of
they
it.
can decide whether they consider that important or not.
For the 4 lane for the travel time, there were some where it was actually an improvement. So I think for the travel time, we should give the 4 lane a 4.
I agree, I did see that, so
Yeah.
I'll ask, Margot about that as well.
Okay.
And the queue length is something that would. I know Tyler's talking about the adaptive signal, that's sort of related to that as well, right?
It's simply the way we're currently now, if you think of us like, we're like a straw with a little bubble in the middle, right? So you're able to accommodate extra traffic within that bubble. If you were to shrink that capacity, it goes to the outsides. And so that's just where, like, instead of stacking the traffic inside Great Plain Avenue, inside like the main quarter in front of Town Common, you're now stacking the traffic on the outside of the.
Okay, so it's really, I was just wondering if that was related to the signals or if that's a separate, it sounds like it's a. the queue
It's more like
length
a throughput issue
Gotcha, okay,
than the signal coordination.
okay.
So that one we'll revisit with Apex as well.
Yeah.
So potentially moving there be some improvement, but.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Should any of these wait for the new traffic study? They're gonna relook at the numbers, maybe they'll have different answers. Well, otherwise, why relook at the numbers if you already have the answers?
So I think what they have right now is a relative answer, but they don't have one based in reality. So what they did is they ran a traffic analysis, but assuming no traffic diversion,
Got it?
and they're able to rank them out. But we asked them, because in a real world scenario, there will be some traffic diversion, so they're running that. And I think where that's helpful is the scope, right? So if the average time to get through the downtown right now is 3 minutes, and the average time under the 4 lanes, the 2 lane scenario is 6 minutes, is very different than if it's 12 minutes, right?
Got it,
So
okay.
I think it's really to find the intensity of it, not necessarily the relative.
So it won't really change the.
I don't think it'll change
correlation between the-
this. I think it will change the comparison between all three in a real time scenario.
Yeah, it's like the raw numbers are going to remain accurate. It's just the magnitude of the differences between the 3 options. I will include that additional information, so the actual baseline information is not going to be, is not anticipated.
Okay, thank you. It's helpful.
Next one is economic development, so it's parking supply. 3, 4, and 5. Liz, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for this one, I think it's important for there to somewhere be like along Great Plain Ave, because I know that we've talked a lot about where these parking spaces are being added, and as businesses, we've said it's really important that we don't lose our spaces mostly on Great Plain Ave. So to show it that, in the both 2-lane scenarios, it actually, the parking gets better. That's not where we're looking for it to get better. So is there anywhere that we can add on Great Plain Avenue? No?
thinking.
I
Okay.
agree.
I can see your point, Liz. I just don't know. I'm just trying to
Even if there's like
figure
another
out.
one right under, like, if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
one that's just specific to Great Plain Ave, and then there's another box that says parking being added on side streets or something. And then
Yeah,
It's a fair point. I just don't know how that would look. But yes, it's
can I just ask the question from like a relative value perspective? Because in these three scenarios, all three of them are going to modify the existing parking on Great Plain Ave in order to make the intersections safer. In all three of them, I do believe we're still adding more parking on Great Plain Ave in the 2-lane and the 2-lane modified than in the 3-lane. So I think the relative increase is not as significant on Great Plain Ave, but I don't think there is a relative decrease on Great Plain Ave in the 2-lane and the 2-lane hybrid. Like there's not less parking spots on Great Plain Ave in the 2-lane scenario than in the 4-lane scenario.
I think the 4-lane
There are.
sustains the most parking on Great Plain Avenue.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a difference of one space between 4-lane alternative and the 2-lane.
No, it was more than 4
There's one space difference
on Great Plain.
on Great Plain Ave.
No, I'm pretty sure there was
It's in our
more.
key topics guide. Say it there.
Yeah, hold on a second. I had that up too.
I remember when we looked-
The 2-lane hybrid has the most lost, which is 8 spots on Great Plain Ave. 5 spots are lost in the 4-lane plan on Great Plain Ave. And on the 2-lane plan, there are 6 spots lost on Great Plain Ave. So it's a difference of 1.
right. I just think that those numbers are important to, like, I know that you can't put them on the matrix, but I just think that when you look at the matrix, you immediately think, oh, well, with the 2-lane plans, like we're getting more parking and that's great. But that's not necessarily where a lot of people are looking for the parking. So with the 4-lane plan, you're losing the least amount on Great Plain. But yet that's ranked lower than the others. So I just think it's like a little confusing.
Yeah, parking supply, I don't,
Maybe we have to redo the math.
Could we do it as 2 separate groups, like parking along Great Plain and then as a second,
Just parking supply.
yeah, overall parking supply, like so customers can see that what changes on Great Plain and then where they're making.
Right. Yeah, you could do parking supply on GPA and then parking supply overall and just have them at least broken down that way.
With it GPA adjacent. I mean, we're talking.
Yeah.
Chapel
Right.
Dedham.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
it's not an extra parking lot.
Right.
So I think, we're talking, with the key topics guide, we're talking about.
Right.
1 spot on Great Plain Ave, but like 10 extra parking spots in the downtown.
Right.
Total, so. Parking supply is just a simple number. I can understand if it were like, 10 or 15 spots being lost in Great Plain Ave versus. Basin, but.
I just think my only thing is like when you're putting a rating to it, it's just like a little misleading. That's all. That's all I'm saying. When you're like,
Well, I think it depends on the perspective of the person who's filling out the, because if that person wants more parking in the downtown and they're have less specific desire as to where it's located, but they want more on-street parking in the downtown, it's a value. If you only want parking on Great Plain Avenue, it's not. So I guess the question is, do you add another category that's specific to parking on-street, so it's not parking supply, it's on-street parking on Great Plain Avenue.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the best way to just. Cause right, there are some people who are gonna like index on one, some who are gonna index on the other, and maybe that's just the way to sort of.
And then there's
with the
on-street
same-
parking
with the same
supply
criteria.
in
But you
downtown,
run the
perhaps.
risk, you run the risk of people thinking those are two different numbers that are additive. Thinking you're adding some on Great Plain and you're adding some somewhere else. That could be very confusing. Maybe it's a footnote. You know what I'm saying? Because if they see that, oh, we're gaining on Great Plain and we're gaining in the adjacent areas, they're gonna think there's a lot more. It could be very.
And I also have to ask the question of where do you draw the line between a 3, a 4, and a 5? Is it 1 spot difference? Is it
Gonna have
5
to be-
spots
yeah,
difference?
right.
Is it 10 spot
Well, it'd have to
difference? So that's just the other tricky
Maybe
part.
a footnote in there might be helpful or something, just to Liz's point that, you know, some people care exactly where they are. Other people are used to parking behind CVS anyway, and they really don't care. But, maybe a footnote helps or something.
So that's my question.
I agree with that because yes, it depends upon the mobility issue or just, the mobility of the person. Some people just say, hey, I want to go park downtown. They'll park on Garden Street. They'll park anywhere. That's considered to them downtown. But some people it really means on Great Plain Ave. So yes, having some sort of line to Liz's point that, this is, I don't know how the verbiage of that would pan out, but I think, calling it out in some way is probably inappropriate.
But then I guess my question, so if we do a ranking and add another one that says like on-street parking, where do we divide the line between parking lots? So if it's 5 for the existing condition, which is what we have as a 3 right now, then would that make the 2-lane also a 3 because it's 6? Or does that make it a 2 because it's 6? Like that's the thing I'm struggling with. Because the numbers are just so small, like how to put it in a ranking.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be able
Scale.
to rank that specifically.
Well, I think that's why Liz wanted to break it up, so that each, like GPA parking can have a ranking, and then parking supply in general.
But where would you do the cutoff? Is it a multiples of 5? Is it a multiples of 10 that you're losing?
Because we're talking about one space, so like,
Well, one space from one plan to the other, but not one, so like, you do it like 3, 2, 1, or whatever.
Delineation, we're only talking about on-street parking. We're not talking about the lots. So we're only talking about the difference between Great Plain Ave and then the feeder roads that are going in the scope of this project. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And yes, that number, that N is relatively small, but certainly I can buy an argument to be able to somehow delineate that with a footnote. I don't think we need another category, but just maybe a definition to help a user who's filling out a survey to differentiate. But because I don't want people to conflate and say, or to say, oh, downtown parking is including the lots that are there in existence, because we're not talking about that.
But not any of this is talking about the lots. I think I think generally speaking, what I heard the last meeting was that the preference was that the key, I'm just gonna put it up.
the key topics guide addresses this whole situation pretty well.
Yeah.
But.
And that for the person who wants to dive in deeper, right, then they can look at the matrix. So the more people will be looking or will be pushing this to the front and not necessarily the matrix, because we established that it's a little more nuanced.
So then maybe then it needs to be more detailed if people want to dive deeper in the matrix.
Well, I think the goal is to have I think we talked about this before, like people don't read things. So the goal is to have something like 1-page digestible that they could get data.
Right.
And so it sounds like the thing that matters the most, and we're getting this revised from the notes that we gave Apex last time. So this is the version we looked at last time. But it sounds like the most important thing is for people to know how much parking and where it's being gained and where it's being lost, which is in this information, which is
When
the
you say
one-pager.
this, you mean the key topics.
The key
right?
topics, yeah.
Right. And we discussed about
Changing the bolding,
the bolding and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah. So that will give them that information on the front end. And then the person who wants to understand like crash information and more detailed information can then look into the matrix.
So it's more detailed for everything except parking.
But does parking even?
Which is, I'm just asking for clarification. I'm not giving an opinion on it. Like, so for the matrix, that's not going to be diving deeper because the information's already on the key topics guide.
And I think it's hard to put in the
Right.
ranking because the relative number is so slim compared to the number of overall parking spots,
Does
right?
parking even need to be on the matrices?
Yes.
Oh, I think so. And that's
Okay,
been,
I'm just-
that's been a significant, yeah, that's been a significant point in a lot of the
That it
correspondence.
shouldn't, I'm just.
That'll drive them to go look at the more detailed information, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, parking, as you have read from, the emails we received are important. So,
Okay, so then if we're not gonna add another line, can we just have a footnote, like, I think
Yeah,
Justin
I think
said,
that's-
to just put a footnote that says this includes all parking.
Yeah.
Or what, I don't know how Apex is gonna word it, but just so that that it's clear.
I think we also need to be clear that it's on-street parking. We're not talking about any additional parking within the corridor either. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes,
Well,
okay.
right, well, do you think balance, loss and gain along corridor? Do you think, I mean, to me, that speaks to on-street parking, but do you think that that line needs? Like, did they need on-street in that sentence?
No, but I think what I'm hearing is there should be an asterisk that sort of says, additional parking is located on adjacent streets to Great Plain Avenue.
Or you could do the loss on Great Plain.
You could say, for additional information, salt.
Key topics guide.
Key topics. That way they know exactly where to go.
The next one is business accessibility, reduces or complicates access, maintains current access with minimal improvements, and improved deliveries, visibility, and customer access. This is a
How did they get the 3s for the 2-lane plans?
Yeah. That should be lower for sure.
Yeah. I don't know how it's maintaining. I'm just asking.
Just so I can get back to Apex, what is changing that would limit business access?
Yeah, and even deliveries, we know it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be harder customer access because there's less spots. So they should definitely not be getting a neutral score.
Mhm.
What do you mean less spots?
We're
On
losing
the map.
parking. It's business accessibility.
So do they, I guess maybe I need more clarity from them on what they mean by that, because do they
Yeah.
mean like accessibility for you and your staff to perform your business? Do they mean deliveries? Like, what does that actually mean? I don't actually know.
Deliveries is definitely should be changed because it's not, it's gonna make getting deliveries harder.
Yeah.
Again, I have to ask the question of if deliveries are happening right now in a fashion that's not accordance with how they should be doing, like, it's hard to compare it to an existing condition that is currently happening without, without like any,
Not
I'm
legal,
trying to
right.
like, skirt around the language, but,
not allowed.
their double parking is not a solution to the problem per se. We're trying to build in solutions into this project. So if the current method of doing deliveries is double parking, it might be more accessible for the delivery person, but for the person who got blocked in, it's not more accessible. So just trying to figure out, like, I'm actually not sure how you get 4, 3 or free, but I don't actually know what they mean by business accessibility. So I actually think I need more clarity so we can bring the question back.
I agree to
With the customer access portion of it, I think that might be what's offsetting that a bit because they're accounting for pedestrian access.
Just physical space.
Customer access.
I mean, invisibility takes it away because if we're diverting traffic, it's less, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, I'm reading it as a business person, I'm seeing it differently probably than you are, so we probably should see what they mean by it.
Yeah, and I think also like looking at like a wider sidewalk provides more, like you're not, if you're driving and you're on the inside lane, you're not necessarily seeing the frontage of a vehicle, of a building versus like if you're the one on the outside lane, you're seeing the frontage. So I need some clarity on that. Okay.
Right, and does that factor in snow removal, snow banks?
Gosh, we haven't even talked about that yet. I'm hoping when we talk to do more outreach, we'll get feedback on it, but I think I've certainly provided the feedback and I can provide it again. If the town were to provide snow removal services in the downtown, the sidewalks have to be wider than the existing condition. We cannot run our equipment down the sidewalks during existing condition. So I'm not offering that we will provide snow removal, but I'm simply stating that we can't provide it under the existing condition. But that could be one of the reasons why, because you can now put equipment down the road to do snow removal, whereas now it's all hand shoveling or snow blowers.
Or not at all.
Or none.
Is there a reason that you deliveries especially, but to visibility are only mentioned in the improved category? Only because I think deliveries, as you point out, deliveries are pretty important for businesses, and there's also, the access, whether people are concerned about deliveries as they're not supposed to be done. People will look at deliveries from two different perspectives, and I think they're extremely important, certainly the businesses. So should it be on all three of those, 1 through 5s?
I can find out too, but yes, I think they should be in all three of them. Does it
Makes sense to
maintain
me.
existing status quo for deliveries,
Right.
or does it make it worse for deliveries? Yeah.
Okay. Outdoor dining and gathering, fewer outdoor dining gathering opportunities given the existing condition. No change in the amount of outdoor dining gathering opportunities, and major increase in the amount of dining opportunities. Yeah, it just makes sense with the wider sidewalks.
I think with the slip lane, we get that in the 4 lanes, maybe
That's
could
what
be
I,
a 4-2,
Mhm.
because that is sort of like that. In the plans, that would sort of become more of a plaza. I imagine that would count as like a gathering space.
Or it creates the opportunity for
But it
businesses
takes
right
them-
now that don't have any outdoor seating, to be able to have outdoor seating.
Where they do, and it's like this wide.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
look at the tables for like Little
That's-
Spoon, for example.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you could have to get down to, pizza, the Thomas Pizza.
Pizza, yeah.
Yeah. That, they don't have much space either, so.
And they would get wider in the 4-lane solution as
Yeah.
well. Yep.
That, I mean, but I do see that 0, 1, and 2. We're on this one again. 3, 4, and 5. That's the size we go, right? So if we were to bump up 3 to 4, which probably should be, because there are definitely opportunities there. That's not a no change in the amount of outdoor dining.
I am wondering if you, just we talked about with the on-street dining, do you put a footnote that it's only in one corridor, right, of the downtown? So as opposed to being evenly dispersed where multiple, if you look at the 2-lane and the 2-lane modified, it provides a lot more opportunity for outdoor functionality, whereas
Mhm.
this one does it in one section really well. But doesn't necessarily impact, the west side of it,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah, or change it in a way that it's. There aren't enough numbers to make it.
Yeah.
Right. All right, 3.5.
I know this is probably splitting hairs. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's probably splitting hairs, but I would push back on the word major, because the 1 is fewer, and 5 would be increased. Because I don't know. It all depends upon. There's a lot of variables that have to do about outdoor dining. There's select board approval. There's planning board. There's a whole bunch of other. There's maybe the word potential, but potential for an increase, or even I would even say significant. The word major is, I think, a little bit too much for someone, especially if you're given the fact that a rating of 1 is just the word fewer. You know what I mean? As opposed to significantly decreased. Just from a delineation scale perspective, I would push back a little bit on the lexicon.
Agree.
And this doesn't necessarily mean there will be outdoor dining, because if the restaurants choose not to do it, I think we have to make sure it's the opportunity.
It's opportunity.
Yeah.
Correct.
so
Correct.
potential is probably the better.
Yeah, that's why it's potential.
All the restaurants could say, we don't want to staff it, so.
It's just too much work.
Right, so
That's fine.
thanks, but no thanks.
Potential, or some other word that's
And that also sort of aligns with the fact that even if you have 1 corridor, we'll have, an increase in the ability to be able to do that. that still makes an improvement
Right.
overall, even if it's not major.
Yeah, no, it should be
It's
put
swept
as an
down.
improved. I'm just saying the word major because the scale of 1 was just the word fewer, and the scale of
Yeah.
5, and if 3 is the your average, and then the word 5 is major. So it's just the verbiage is used to almost bias to the point of like it's a major improvement. Should we do, a 5 is. So I'm just saying we need to kind of look at the scale of that and maybe just make the appropriate lexicon that would be even. That's all I'm saying. There is an increase. 5 is obviously an increase over 3, and there is. If we have wider sidewalks, then that is going to be, potential for permitted space to be available to be given to do that. So.
All right. There's a lot of majors coming up, so. Foot traffic increase, reduction in foot traffic anticipated. No expected increase, modest increase through improved walkability. Significant increase in pedestrian presence and time spent downtown.
This one, I actually wonder if it makes sense on this specific document, only because that is a behavior, the rest are sort of design features. And I don't think, I think the survey would maybe be a better indicator of that, but
It's true, I do.
it just seems like a little bit different than the other elements on the page, so I think that's just, it's a good thing, we love foot traffic, that's an important part of any downtown, but I think it just doesn't necessarily fit on this specific matrix, for that reason.
You think then it should be more about physical space for foot traffic?
Yeah.
As opposed to,
So I think, and
The
there's something up
potential.
above that was sort of more about like sidewalk width, there's public realm space, I think there are pieces,
Capacity.
again, it is an important factor, but I think measured in this way, it's not necessarily,
That's it.
Yeah, because we don't know.
Right.
We don't know.
Okay.
And I think the other thing too is that, even if you create wider sidewalks, as we talked about before,
Doesn't
what
bring
increases
people don't
foot
sprout from
traffic is
cement.
having events that
Yeah.
bring people downtown.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are driven by other factors, not just a wide sidewalk. If it can better accommodate.
right, and that's, I think.
But isn't that already addressed with the widening of the sidewalks? Like, that's kind of common
Yeah.
sense.
I think
Well, and that's why I'm saying if it's, if it's going to be,
Yeah, but you.
it's going to improve the potential for it. But to define it as, foot traffic increase. That's
I think because
just a potential to have more people in a space.
so we
but-
could change it to like foot traffic space.
Does it have to even be in there?
I was gonna say, it might be redundant to the sidewalk.
Well, I think that
I
this is
agree.
in the business, this is in the economic development. I think the theory is that should you have a nicer sidewalk, it's shaded, like,
But there's
Right.
no
More
study
time
been
in
done
there.
that we know this
Yeah.
will happen.
theory is, right, that you may increase foot traffic with that, if you improve the
It's an
landscape.
opportunity.
It's an opportunity. It's
Yeah,
not,
it's
it's
not
not
an
foot
appeal,
traffic
Foot
going to
traffic
increase.
appeal.
But,
As opposed to current, which creates very few opportunities for that to even happen.
I mean,
It's a change.
the current, I think the 4-lane plan has change in it as well to increase foot traffic.
Yeah, what if we change the language? I'm just thinking, because I heard the word events. So one of the struggles we have is we physically don't, like, I know when we have events like the spooky walk, or we've had protests in the downtown.
Mhm.
There's just physically not enough space, right, to accommodate those types of events in a functional way. They take up the entire space. You can't really have any other activity going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Would it be better to say that there's more opportunity for outdoor commerce and events because there's more space there, as opposed to talking about the people who would then go to those things?
I think that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Way more.
It's,
the
yeah,
context
it's
of
it's
it,
creating a
yeah.
potential. But which doesn't exist now.
Right.
Isn't that under public realm or not? I mean,
That's what I think.
Yeah, that shouldn't be under.
yeah, I mean, like foot traffic increase is not going to happen unless you get a denser population in town. I mean, it's foot traffic. The potentiality of a walkability maybe is something that you could try to quantify. But to say that if you increase the size of the sidewalk, you're going to have more foot traffic. isn't necessarily. However, to Karis's point, public realm space, I think, does cover exactly what she was talking about in terms of the spooky walk or the, protesting or whatever, space for people to congregate. More space, but
Isn't that the same as outdoor dining and gathering?
Yeah, this spot specifically is as it relates to economic development. So we're talking about foot traffic increase on the street as it pertains to going to businesses and such. When I think about some of the emails we received about people talking about Wellesley, like, oh, Wellesley, we like going there, et cetera, et cetera. There's a landscape, there's a component to that sidewalk in that area in Wellesley that people are seemingly attracted to, right? So the theory is if you improve the sidewalk and the landscape, greenery, trees, whatever, that foot traffic could increase.
The goal is
And-
to get people to be comfortable in the space for a longer period of time, because it shows the more time people spend in the space, the more money they're likely to spend. It's why the Legacy Place is designed the way Legacy Place is.
Like all of those pedestrian malls, all those things are.
Does this capture the issue now where you can't walk down the sidewalk with a stroller or in a wheelchair? Because if somebody's going with something, then people can't get past them. So I mean, the sidewalks have to get bigger just to accommodate that.
So I think the goal is, I think this is trying to address maybe the comfort level of attracting people into the downtown because they know of that issue.
Okay.
I think the wider sidewalks addresses that issue specifically.
It does, but I mean, is that what
I think-
you mean here?
I think the hope is, or the expectation is that if you make the sidewalks wider, people will feel more comfortable walking in them, therefore they will do more business activity. I think the goal is trying to look at, every business in town, like they have frontage on Great Plain Avenue, people are physically walking, whether it's 6 inches
Right.
or 20 feet or 100 feet through our landscape. And so is it a comfortable experience or an uncomfortable experience? And does that prohibit them potentially from visiting our downtown? And would removing that obstacle make it more attractive to visit?
Someone could walk with a stroller more easily with it.
Yeah, because it's not easy now.
No, right now someone has to go into the trees.
You
in
have to
order
step
cross.
out into the street
Yeah.
to let them get by.
Jeff Speck, the graphic design sort of makes the economic brief that pedestrians will stay away from places that don't feel safe nor interesting. He says you want pedestrians, you make it safe and interesting. And I think that's a measure of economic activity.
That's a good point.
So he doesn't say maybe it will bring, they said it certainly will keep them away if it's not going to be interesting.
Mr. Chair, I think Liz has her hand up.
I just don't know how you rank this, and I don't think it's connected to economic vitality. Honestly, I don't see how it's
I think it's
like
it's an opinion.
an
It's not
opinion
really-
based, because it's almost like it seems like it's like if you build it, they will come. Like that's not how it works. Like it doesn't mean like if we just build bigger sidewalks, we're just all of a sudden going to get all this new foot traffic. I see what you're saying in terms of like the appeal of what you're looking to do, but I don't know. I think it's too much of an opinion based.
There is research that connecting walkability with economic activity. And that places that are more walkable, like Kevin was saying.
But what makes it more walkable? Just be the width? Because I also have heard people say they're not going to feel comfortable walking on a sidewalk where there's also going to be bikers.
Where the street is dominated by cars, that has low walkability. So the opposite is true for high walkability.
Where are these studies done? In Massachusetts?
Where
Like in the Northeast?
so I mean, there's several studies, there's a lot of research on walkability.
No, I'm just thinking because it's cold a lot of the time, right? So people want to park close to where they are. There's not a lot of walking around going on, especially this time of year. I don't know. I just think this is an opinion, the foot traffic increase. Nobody really knows that we're going to get more foot traffic. And like what Justin said, if we don't have a denser population, it's not going to bring more trip back. Like people who live around the downtown area walk, people who live 2 miles away drive their cars. So I don't think that any of these plans is going to necessarily make it more is going to increase foot traffic.
Needham, when I was growing up, supported a lot more stores, a lot more variety of businesses with a lot smaller population. And so I think it attracted people when, the amount of vitality, the amount of stores. So I don't know, I mean, that we need more of a population to make more pedestrians. It's like, I think there was a lot of activity downtown when there was a smaller population too.
Yeah, but that was before the internet and before all
Oh,
these
yeah.
platform
Yeah.
things and all that kind of stuff. So you
The
can't
only
really
thing-
compare that.
There's sort of like a chicken and egg conversation too, as far as like when we build infrastructure, we're building it for 50+ years, right? We're not just building it for next year.
Mhm.
So there is like, what will Needham look like 40 years from now? And will we have the right infrastructure in place too? And I'm not saying that should dictate the project, but I just want to like contextualize it when we do a construction project. We're not looking at a 1-year time horizon. We're looking at investment that yields benefit over a longer period of time. What I think I'm hearing is just a mixed opinion about whether or not foot traffic has an economic impact or not. And I think it is addressed in 2 other locations in this. And so I guess my real question is, does anybody have a strong need to keep it in this section or a strong need to remove it from the section?
I think foot traffic is foot traffic as it relates to business. That's what foot traffic means. We're not talking about like people taking a stroll or something. Foot traffic is people in front of businesses going in, stopping. They've been shown to spend more money and all the other things. That's what foot traffic is. So like if we're talking about foot traffic, that is a business related way to talk about the sidewalks or whatever. I think it should be potential for foot traffic increase because we can't,
Yeah.
we're not saying
Yeah.
it's guaranteed. But the potential for it to come from the improvements, I think is can be rated like this. I do think that the 3, obviously, again, can, like there are improvements to walkability with the 4-lane plan. It is true, so.
Potential will come.
Well,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
it's
you have-
potential, because I think people answering the survey, they may want to or not want to, or they may never have thought about being downtown more. But I think it is worth letting them know that this is something that could make it more desirable, more easy, more attractive. But it's not going to increase the foot traffic. That depends on people's behavior. But I think it is helpful for people answering this to see if we believe that's the case, that some of these have the opportunity to make it more easier and more desirable for me, you, or anybody else to spend time walking in the downtown.
It's the potential to
Can I
accommodate.
just,
Well, I actually think increase is an adjective. It doesn't really belong in law. It should just be foot traffic. Foot traffic is the thing you're trying to quantify.
Right.
And then there's and everything, and it could be possible increase in pedestrian presence or potential increase. But we've put increase in the wrong spot.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the word significant is the thing that probably would provide the quickest change if we just use potential.
Right. And it's also shouldn't be like I can make the argument when you're saying economic development, I lose business during the spooky walk. I don't gain it,
Same.
because nobody comes in, no one comes shopping because it's crazy down there and everyone's walking around and it's, so I don't know that it belongs. If you guys really feel strongly about having foot traffic, maybe it shouldn't be under economic development.
So I think so I was using the spooky walk as an example we have certain areas of our sidewalks that don't I think they struggle accommodating pedestrians walking in 2 different, like, you have to go, you can't have 2 people that pass each other in some of these sections. It's that narrow. So I think the idea is that it may be a deterrent for people to even come to the downtown because they have a lack of comfort walking around versus if they had more comfort. So it's not necessarily talking about the spooky walk providing more business. It's about, will people feel comfortable operating the downtown or not comfortable operating the downtown? And if you have physically more space to do it, you might be more inclined to go than if you feel like, for example, if you don't park right in front of the store, it's uncomfortable to walk a couple of blocks in our current layout. It might be more comfortable to walk, or even just crossing from your particular parking spot into the shop. Like every person who comes into the business is a foot traffic person. Like nobody gets there in another method. Like everyone walks into your store, right?
Yeah.
For the carrots, they get to our stores by driving to our stores.
They
And in
mostly
order
get
for
their
them,
stuff by-
Right. But they experience the pedestrian aspects of our every person who drives to our downtown
Yeah.
also experiences the pedestrian aspect of the downtown.
Right.
And so improving the pedestrian aspect of the downtown improves potentially the perspective of everyone who goes there. What you're saying is they may not want the trade-off of potentially changing parking or other configurations, but that doesn't change that their experience as a pedestrian might be.
But I'm also saying the foot traffic that you guys are talking about doesn't necessarily bring economic development. The spooky walk doesn't bring economic development. If somebody walks to my store, they don't buy as much because they have to carry it home. You know, so there's like, I know you're just thinking, oh, a lot of people will be walking around, you'll get more business that way, but I actually get more business with the people who pull up in their cars.
Right.
So,
But don't they
so
drive, don't they walk along?
if you want to leave the foot traffic part in there, that's fine. I just don't think it belongs under economic development.
Liz, go ahead.
Sorry, can I just, so people have to be able to get into our downtown in order to park and walk around, right? So if we now have, say, 2 lanes of traffic, it's going to deter people from actually driving into our downtown for us to have foot traffic. So they're linked. So I don't think you can, I mean, there's not going to be as many people coming into our downtown because they're going to be avoiding it because of the backups and the traffic to get through. So I think you have to take that into account too. That's why I think it's like really an opinion-based topic. I don't see how it fits there, and you have to look at the whole picture. Like,
Yeah.
Why don't we just strike this row and then the other components throughout the matrix that include space and sidewalks will be enough to sort of speak to that potential.
I think the point is there. I mean, there's a whole section for widening the sidewalks. So
So can I just
I
make
agree with Liz.
just
She's
one
right
comment?
about that.
Go ahead.
I think, and I guess it's just been what Avery said. So the foot traffic increase as a survey item, I don't think is appropriate right now, given the discussion. And the reason why is it is an artifact of a couple of these other items that are here, because the foot traffic is going to increase if you make the sidewalks larger, the public realm space if you make it more appropriate. Foot traffic is going to be an artifact of that. It is not necessarily something that someone is going to be answering a question and saying that plan A, B, or C is going to increase their foot traffic. That's almost irrelevant, to be fair. I mean, foot traffic increase, we all know is going to happen as an artifact of zoning. So you know what I mean? And the potential, and this is one of the things, this is me from I'm not even wearing the zoning or the planning board hat. I'm here from safety, but yes, changing the zoning is probably something we probably should have done first. But if you build it, they will come kind of mentality. But yes, that is going to increase the foot traffic. That is looked at in studies, et cetera. Zoning changes that. So I don't necessarily think this is an appropriate item that we put on a survey to evaluate these three different plans. I think it's going to confuse people, and it's going to potentially make it harder for us as a committee to be able to determine, what the public opinion is on this specific thing. So, yes, we could talk about it, whether yes, Liz is right. People are going to drive, but then yes, they park in a parking lot or they park on the street and they walk. So is that foot traffic or not? So it's splitting hairs. I think we should remove it. That's just my opinion, though. Welcome the challenge.
Seconded.
I agree.
That makes sense. For simplicity.
Okay. Next one is streetscape and urban design. Reduce public realm space compared to the existing condition. No added public realm space, major. Okay, we'll address the major part of it. Major addition of usable space, plazas and wider sidewalks.
I think this is another one. I think I mentioned it last time. I'll mention it again, where I think the 4 lane should be a 4 and not a 3. Because we're adding a significant amount of space.
Yeah.
And that corridor heading.
Yeah, I know we've
Okay.
talked a lot about the numbers, but does there need to be like one more number?
The 3.5.
Like a 6? Because
No.
Well,
I know what you're saying, but
maybe
yeah.
because it's kind of coming out now as we're going through each one of these, that, right, like, we don't wanna say that the 4-lane plan does nothing, right, or maintains the
Because it
status
does
quo,
add,
because
yeah.
it does increase things. However, the other two plans increase them more.
So then change the wording of 3, change it to minor added public realm space.
It just becomes, 3 becomes like a less neutral value. That's
Yeah.
the only difference.
Yeah.
Because you really you're only interested in the comparison between the 3 projects or proposed projects. The actual number doesn't mean anything, it's just in comparison to the others. So if you define 3 slight with a little improvement, and you could do that on some of the other ones as well, instead of saying it's not really neutral, but compared to the other 2, it's not as good.
I agree.
So we'll tweak the language. We'll remove major from all the places it says major.
Yeah, no major.
And we will tweak the language so that when it is clear that there is still a benefit above existing condition,
We acknowledge.
but it's not as significant as the other 2 alternatives, that we change the language so 3 acknowledges that there is an improvement over existing condition.
So you're gonna go back and change everything that we changed from a 3 to a 4 to a 3?
But yeah, so with outdoor
change
dining and
public.
gathering and public realm space were the 2.
Thank you. I guess I.
Okay. Tree canopy greenery, fewer street trees, than existing condition, fewer no new street trees. Compared to existing condition and major expansion of tree canopy and greenery.
I actually had a question about this, in pertain, so you know where my store is, there's a bump out there already, and there's like a little bench, and so why, since we're doing other bump outs, can there not be something along those lines added in the 4-lane plan?
There can be in the bump outs, but they can't be along the corridor. So I think that goes back to the exact conversation we just had. The few to no street trees, greenery compared to existing conditions. There's a minor improvement, but not a significant amount of space being added to accommodate that. And then I'll also have to check the current layout for street trees. I think you might agree would be challenging, and I don't know if that density would be proposed in the existing plan with the width of the sidewalk there.
But we're
So there
talking
might
about
not
the
be as
whole,
much space.
we're talking about the whole plan in general, right?
Yeah.
So trees can be added to the 4-lane plan and the bump outs.
Right, but they might have to get removed from sections of the sidewalk as well, so it might be a trade-off. That's what I just have to
Oh.
check, because the sidewalks are too narrow in certain areas.
But we will change.
Complex. So we'll change the
So-
3
so
to
like
clearer, yeah.
Minor or.
Right.
Some.
Yeah.
Street furniture and amenities, fewer amenities than an existing condition. Few or no amenities compared to existing condition, and comprehensive suite of street furniture enhancing comfort and safety.
I think 3 is, I'm gonna have to change the definition for 3 in that one as well, to the few, not to the no.
Yes. Sustainability and resilience, stormwater best management practices, is what the improvements, all right? No new stormwater improvement, no new stormwater BMPs included as part of the project, or comprehensive green stormwater infrastructure integrated.
So this is again, just the physical space on the sidewalk provides us the opportunity to provide like surface level to subsurface level drainage improvements that we can't do if the sidewalk is there. So you can do things like special garden treatments that then feature into like cisterns underneath the sidewalk, as opposed to if you have narrow sidewalk, you can't put those green features.
Is there some way we could, how do we let people know that? Because like when I looked at it first, I know now from being on this committee, but I was like, well, if they're ripping the street up and doing the drainage, why aren't these all equal? Was my thought. So how do we clarify that?
I think what I can do is we can do something that makes it clear that those stormwater features and the 5 are on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go to 6.
No more numbers.
Right.
Tap.
Stina,
I'm awake.
Okay, heat island reduction, reduction in shade compared to existing conditions, no shade reflective improvements. major reduction in urban heat island through tree canopy and material selection.
So I'm okay with major there if that's truly the case.
I would say reduction is probably better than
Okay.
major.
Yeah.
I just think like major sets the expectation that we're gonna have like an urban forest, which is not the real, right? We're gonna have some appropriately sized street trees with the right amount of canopy to not block the awnings, like it's, you know. Okay.
Maybe in 50 years.
Yeah.
And
when
can I
we're all
go?
gone.
Oh, sorry. Vehicle emissions, we had discussed, and then you guys just crossed it out.
We couldn't, well, I think we and Apex had a hard time articulating the value because
I mean, it is part of sustainability.
it is, but I think they would like, well, if you have more congestion, that could potentially have more emissions, or if you have more cars, that could have more emissions. So like, there wasn't a good way of quantifying it, I think was the issue.
The difference really comes down to when in places, like to talk with the mayor Carmel, and he had said, you know, they had a quantifiable difference because what they did is they eliminated signaled intersections and were able to put in roundabouts that made a significant difference in being able to reduce the emissions. Because when a car is actually running, its emissions are much lower. When it's actually sitting, then they're much higher. Because they eliminated, that gives a quantifiable difference. But in our particular case, you know, it's slow versus slower versus, I mean, you're talking about minor differences in that aspect. So I don't know whether that's something that would be significant enough to, or how you'd evolve.
I think that was the challenge, is we just couldn't find a method of quantifying it.
Costs and implementation, pilot recommended prior to full build. Pilot strongly recommended prior to full build construction, and pilot not recommended prior to full build construction.
It's very clear.
So that's the cost measure seems work.
Cost one,
This is under cost, right? Construction cost.
construction cost, when I wasn't here for the last meeting, I apologize, but when I looked at the notes, it looked like the three prices really weren't that different. So I don't see how you go from 2 to 5. To me, they look like rounding errors almost. You're like $1 million difference on a project this size. It's really not that's not a big difference. In my mind, it's not.
Is the pilot cost included in?
Like, it's not, this is just construction cost.
It would probably be more like 544 or something, or 223. Yeah. It just wouldn't, in my mind, I looked at the numbers and they weren't that different. They were difference of like 10%.
Yeah.
It's not a big difference in my mind. 20 or 25% maybe, but it's like a little bit. I was actually shocked at how similar they were.
Yeah,
it almost didn't feel right
Yeah,
to me. I've done a lot of construction and I would have thought they'd be very different.
I will say what was very interesting to me was that we had the cost estimated back in 2021. And with escalation, the 4-lane alternative was pretty close to what we would have assumed it would have been based on that design as well, which was tweaked out from, this design is tweaked out.
They just didn't seem that different.
Yeah, there's like a $3 million difference between the 4-lane and then going to the 2 lanes.
So what were the numbers? The
15.4 for the 2-lane.
Yep.
15.3 for the 2-lane with the turning, and then 12.4. So I think it could be more like 5.33.
Yeah, something like that.
Or no, I said that wrong. Where am I looking?
No, 1.5.
You have 5.
It's 522.
522.
So we're thinking 533.
Yeah, I
And
think
there's,
so.
yeah, there's so little difference between the last two plans.
The other two are the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, $100,000 difference. I didn't even figure that. It's crazy.
And the pilot,
Get that in paint.
trying to kind of remember the pilot and how that is being rated just based on cost of actually implementing it.
No, so it's whether or not you need one, right? So like we were planning in 2021 to do a project very, very similar to the 3-lane alternative, and we had never proposed a pilot. We proposed to go directly to construction. We did that with phase one. We were planning on doing that with the other 5 phases of the downtown. The pilot came up because we were making such a significant change. You are able to test public reaction more than anything else to a project when you do a pilot versus when you just construct. I think it may have muddied the water a little bit in this particular process because of the speed at which it was being implemented. But they do recommend if you're going to make that significant of a change, you can do it with a $300,000 investment that you can just rip out, or you can do it at $15 million and then find out nobody likes it. So it's more about it's not about the feasibility of the project, it's about public reaction to it. So that's why you do it in advance. Also, if you're trying to get like we have like mini pilots in the downtown. So if you look at like where the orange jersey barriers are for the pedestrian crossings, for example, like it's a cheap way of doing a safety measure without constructing curb or having to do drainage or all the other stuff. So those are kind of the 2 reasons why you do pilots. And so they're not recommending it for the 4-lane because it's just not a significant enough change that it would you would have to worry, I guess, about public reaction in the same way. Versus if you do go for a 2-lane, it is going to be a significant change, both to how the sidewalk feels and how the road feels, and doing so at a low cost for committing to a larger project has an advantage.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to understand the 5 to 1 here. I know we kind of talked about like here we're not like one is better than the other. It's just
what you would
difference.
recommend.
Yeah. Doesn't change the cost really. Okay.
It was $380,000 to do the pilot work on this.
Constructability, alternative anticipated to have significant constructability issues, and alternative anticipated to have constructability.
I think it's just the disruption, right, from the existing curb line. If you're changing the curb line, you're changing the parking, you're doing temporary park. It's just more complicated from the construction perspective, not the outcome perspective.
Right, we're ripping up the street.
Well, either way, we're ripping up the street. It's gonna be disruptive no matter what, but it's just,
In the 4-lane alternative, we won't rip up the middle of the street.
right, we don't have to change like the layout of some of our drainage, for example, whereas if you change the curb line, you then have to change the layout of the drainage.
Project policy alignment consistency with regional plans. Not consistent with adopted plans, aligns with some but not all. Strong alignment with multiple adopted plans, complete streets, Boston MPO, Vision Zero, etc.
So is part of this clarification is whether it's, since we know the Highland Avenue project is coming along at some point, that how this interacts with that, right? Isn't that
the bottom, yeah, great.
Yeah, it doesn't disrupt it, right? So it's not like one requires the other one to occur as far as functionality goes, but it's like, I'm like reticent to even say the word because I don't want to like upset anyone. But if we have like a bike lane plan, right? We talk about connectivity. If you have a bike lane, there's connectivity. If you don't have a bike lane, there's not connectivity. It's not like you have to do a bike lane and have to provide connectivity, but that's the advantage or disadvantage. One has space, the other one doesn't. Both of them, when it comes to like the Highland Ave, for example, corridor, they work either way, right? You can do the 4-lane plan, you can do the 2-lane plan, or you can do the 2-lane turn plan with the requirements that we have under the TIP process, because it doesn't dictate this project. But there's some synergy that we're kind of going to be missing if you don't provide that connectivity.
but the connection from Highland Avenue, whether it did a bike lane, didn't do a bike lane, doesn't affect the operational flow within
Correct.
what we're working on.
Correct. I think part of the reason they're providing this is because for certain funding programs or other like regional objectives, it's just what meets those regional objectives more and what is simply doing like I said, all 3 of these meet our complete streets policy, right? So policy simply says we have to look at the corridor, we have to decide how we want to use it, and we have to be thoughtful about all users. And all 3 alternatives provide that. Some provide it to a higher extent and some provide it to a lower extent, but all three meet that criteria. And I think that's what this is just trying to articulate. They're all an improvement over existing condition. They all accommodate those modalities better. Some accommodate them more than others.
Okay. That would be the end. Does anyone have any comments?
Yeah,
You didn't do the last.
you didn't, yeah, you didn't do the last two.
Okay. Coordination with projects, missed opportunity,
Oh, we did talk about that a little bit.
yeah, some
But not the
coordination
last
possible.
Yeah.
Last one, not competitive or eligible for the majority of current programs through the state or federal government. Not competitive for some limited funding stream, highly competitive for multiple programs.
Just making that three, like a somewhat competitive, just it's not competitive for some, it's just a little. Just funny wording.
Yeah, somewhat competitive.
But I think I think the intention is the same.
That's good. So as mentioned here, snow, where's the footnote?
Oh, the snow removal one.
Snow removal not included because there's no objective way to measure ease of snow removal for each alternative. Snow clearing plan to be developed with whichever alternative.
I think there were two issues. So one is the sidewalks. The second one is on-street parking. And when we have higher intensity snow events, we use the on-street parking to stash snow temporarily during that event because snow has to literally go somewhere. And then we come back and we remove that snow. And when you have bump outs, which have, again, huge value for pedestrian safety and help delineate parking, it does make that process more challenging, whereas it does provide more opportunity for sidewalk clearing. So it's not like again, it's sort of like that emissions one. It's like one has this advantage, the other one has another advantage, and it's not one clear advantage across all the plans.
Enforce it, so. All right. So we've gone through all of the items in the matrix. We've chosen the numbers that we're going to use. So this will we'll get another version of it and we'll review it and then we'll approve it. Okay. That will become part of documents we use. Okay. The next agenda item is to review slip lane on Needham. So yeah,
So the question came up at our last meeting. Liz asked it about if you could keep the slip lane.
I was going to put right on it.
Yeah. So I guess there's sort of two things, and one, I sort of put it back to this committee is how far down the rabbit hole we want to go with researching it, because obviously any additional design work costs more money. When we looked into it, so sort of why do you have a slip lane? So the advantage of the slip lane is to clear more congestion out during peak traffic volume and push them through the intersection without creating that traffic moving through the intersection. The advantage, obviously, is the car will move through faster and potentially reduce some of the backlog in that lane. The disadvantage is the person doing the slip lane thinks they have the right of way. They don't always check because they don't have a control measure there. There's a pedestrian conflict and they're moving into a lane of traffic where there's already potentially traffic coming. So there's a merge concern. So we talked about to make that safe. So they're not recommended slip lanes, but if you have to do one because of geometry, they do say that you should signalize them. And effectively what happens when you add a signal is it still backs the traffic up because you have the same stop movement that you would have if they were stopped at that intersection. So there's not really a plus value to maintaining that slip lane. So the recommendation is that it's not a recommended practice, but I wanted to put it back to the committee to see if we wanted to or needed to invest additional resources in order to investigate it further.
I mean, it sounds to me that the reality is that people are reacting to the fact that they like the fact that they can just come up the street and then turn right and go. But there are a lot of safety issues about that, number one. And if when we do the construction, it would have to be signalized, then all the advantage of having the unmonitored slip lane goes away. So better that it be controlled in the ways that we're proposing. Because it's going to have to go away in some way, or it's going to become no advantage at all. So that doesn't seem to, I mean, I wouldn't say that you need a lot of research to be able to determine that it's not going to actually be an advantage going forward. Is that a correct?
It's not gonna be a traffic advantage. If that's, I think, the hope.
Right.
I will say, we have outdoor dining on that current corner where the slip lane is currently, from one restaurant currently, so there is. I guess at least from one of the businesses there, a desire to do, on street or on sidewalk dining. This particular area does add additional sidewalk that can be used for things like, green infrastructure, furniture, that the rest of the project, especially if we did look at the 4-lane solution, would not provide us the opportunity to have. It also tries to bring that intersection more into a T alignment with the Great Plain Ave, which just enhances visibility for all users.
So essentially, in terms of the question, slip lane investigation or more research into it, it just seems like there's no advantage to doing that, since you would lose the advantage of the slip lane as a basically a free right-hand turn, because it has to be signalized anyway. So going to the alternate plan, which eliminates that island and controls the traffic in a different way, is the best advantage and picks up space that we could not accommodate otherwise. So
Did you ever do that? You're gonna do the test with the phones? Right.
We haven't yet. I will, we'll do that before the next meeting. I'll make sure to go out and do that.
yeah, I mean, it's obviously as long as the large vehicles can make the corner.
And has there been the traffic study? I forget. I have to pull. What are the results in terms of what the analysis was of? Because I know that there are methods you could do on the slip lane, is you could pedestrian control it, in which essentially you're allowing a green light to be which couldn't be a green light, but you could do it under pedestrian activation of a crosswalk that would turn it red along with the rest of the intersection. But if not, it would just remain uncontrolled. Or it would remain, blinking yellow or something. There are methods that people have done. I know there's in Newton they control no turn on reds based on pedestrian activation. There are certain things that kind of intermediary steps. I'm not saying we need to go down that rabbit hole, as you said. This is going to design that is going to increase the cost. But what is the traffic impact between slip lane removal and not, in terms of that right turn up Dedham Ave onto GPA, because that's what we're talking about.
What I said, so you would have to signalize it, so there wouldn't be a significant traffic benefit, because it would still be at a stop phase when the other traffic is also in a stop phase. So right now, the advantage is when the rest of the traffic on Dedham Ave that is stopped, the person can sneak out the right and not be stopped. And now they won't be able to do that anymore, so they'll be held back with everybody else.
I think what Justin's asking is if you could add a pedestrian signal just to cross the slip lane, that's completely separate from all the other signals that are in the intersection, so that you can cross the slip lane with a red light, but only that one pedestrian movement going across there, while the rest of the intersection is still kind of.
So then you still have the same crash risk from a vehicle perspective. So I think I've seen it. I know they have one on University Ave, and what they do is they actually hold it as a right turn arrow with a sign that says right turn on red after stop. I will say I've been honked at multiple times at that intersection, because people think that it means just go, and if there's a car coming the other way, they don't always respect that the person who's up at the front can actually see where they're going. So I think, either way, you're controlling it as a right turn on red, or you're controlling it as, it's now stacking behind the center lane. There's not a lot of movement that we saw in that particular turn, making a right turn either. So it wasn't like a highly utilized turn. movement.
One thing to consider is that if you have them independently signalized, if northbound traffic going across the intersection is green and then traffic on the slip lane is red, you could have cars queuing into the lane at which people are trying to go straight. So if you have 2 or 3 cars that are trying to make the right turn, they might be stopped, and then the lane that people are there's only that one lane that people are going through. It could be blocked, and then people are going to have to go into the left-hand turn lane to go around them to go straight through.
Well, I mean, you
So
said
that's a
that there's not that
possibility.
many movements going that direction anyways, right? That's what you said, Garrison?
Yeah,
It was a low turn movement.
that's, it's just one of the like, when you're talking about independently controlled signals, that's one of the considerations. You know, you typically wouldn't have an independent signal for a slip lane unless you have the queue
A
length.
dedicated queue. I get that. I get that.
Yeah, and we don't have much stacking on that particular. You look, there's maybe 2 to 3 car length stacking that you can have maximum. It's not designed for that to be signalized.
But on top of that, also, I know that to your point is that when we were talking about the usage, when Apex was here, that they said the highest percentage of usage is coming up Dedham Ave and going straight or going left. And very few people actually turn right.
In the peak hours,
Yeah, in the
absolutely.
peak
Yeah,
hours,
yeah.
yeah, which is the time when most congestion is, concerned. So the amount of traffic that's actually going to be improved in any way, it's not gonna change much. It's really what it seems like, since most people are coming up to the light, stopping anyway, they're going to be taking a left and going straight across.
So the decision is the valuation of the slip lane to beautification, use whatever usage, green space, that sort of stuff, or not, right? We either keeping it, or you could stop control it. You could put a stop sign there too. I mean, there's other methods if we wanted to keep that, but that's just.
Doesn't see a compelling value.
It doesn't feel like it has a lot of value.
I also wonder if on the hybrid and the 2-lane, and maybe even the 4-lane, we would lose the crosswalk across Great Plain Ave from Needham Music going across. And I don't know how we redesign that island to accommodate the crosswalk in the slip lane.
Yeah, I think one of the things, at least I was not envisioning testing it out on all 3. I was only envisioning it that it would fit in the 4 lane. Because I think to your point, we are now looking at unidirectional crossing and we're not looking at kitty corner crossing. And so it doesn't provide for the same opportunities that the current layout has.
You also have, if there's more than 3 or 4 cars that are queuing to go straight through the intersection, the slip lane's blocked.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you only see maybe a couple of 2 or 3 cars even being able to take advantage.
Doesn't add a lot of benefit.
Should we vote on whether or not to entertain a motion, whether
Consensus, so.
is there consensus that we don't need to explore the slip lane and the 4 lane alternative? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the last agenda item is to review and approve the minutes from September 29th and October 6th. Anyone have any corrections, comments? Concerns?
What was the comment?
There was a comment, about, what was the, you had something.
Well, the vote went in the same direction of what the minutes read, that it was agreed to change it to 1 to 5 in the October 6th meeting.
So I guess we could do it with the amendment that it was agreed to represent it as 1 to 5.
Yes.
Which I think is what the agreement was.
About that.
Yep.
I think maybe can stop. I don't have any problem.
Well, proof the names.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We moved on.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections as noted.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Take a roll call vote. Eileen Baker,
Yes.
Jim Bolger, yes. Lisa Alcock,
Yes.
Paul Good,
Yes.
Michael Grice,
Yes.
Liz Hay,
Yes.
Kevin Keen,
Yes.
Justin McCullen,
Abstain because I wasn't here.
Avery Newton, Diane Nanny,
Yes.
Paul O'Connor,
Yes.
Harris Lustig,
Yes.
Susan Fleck.
Staying also wasn't here.
Minutes passed, and then the next one is to adjourn, so.
Second.
I don't see the. Someone second that.
Second.
So we'll take a roll call vote. Eileen Baker.
Yeah.
Jim Bolger, yes. Lisa Alcock.
Yeah.
All good.
Yes.
Michael Grice.
Aye.
Liz Hay.
Yes.
Kevin Keen.
Aye.
Justin McCullen.
Aye.
Avery Newton. Diane Nanny.
Aye.
Paul O'Connor.
Aye.
Harris Lustig.
Yeah.
Susan Fleck.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good work.
Get out of the hospital. Huh? I don't know how to. Yeah, somebody.